Hello people, David here again with another Btekt. If you're new here, thanks for dropping by. We specialise in mobile phone and tech reviews, but done with style. And if you're subbed and coming back for more, it's great to see you. I must be doing something right. If you think I am, then it'll be great if you could hit that subscribe button for me, ding that notification bell, and smash that like button. Today, I've got my full review of the Xperia XZ3, an absolutely beautiful flagship phone from Sony, with curves not just on the back, but also on the front, with its gorgeous 6-inch curved tri-luminous display. This is really the main difference between this and the XZ2. It's quite similar in many ways to the XZ2, which was released just 6 months ago at MWC 2018. So have Sony done enough here to persuade XZ2 users to go for an upgrade? And although Sony have improved the camera's software, is sticking with the same hardware a mistake? Well, keep watching my full review to find out. But before we get into this one, I want to take a minute to tell you about a site called Direct Mobiles. They're phone specialists and have a great selection of the latest and greatest handsets at very competitive prices. They also have over 23 years of award-winning customer service and probably the highest Trustpilot score of any mobile phone retailer. Definitely worth a look if you're after a new phone. Check in the description below for a link to their website or search directmobiles.co.uk. So I've been using the Sony Xperia XZ3 as my daily driver for about 2 weeks now, and there's no doubt that this is a great phone. But it's by no means perfect, and there is a few very annoying things about it, and I'll get to that in a bit. But first, I want to talk about the design. When Sony switched to the ambient flow look, I wasn't immediately a fan. I preferred the omni-balance design from the XZ1, and it took a while for it to win me round. But it did eventually, and this time with the XZ3, in my opinion, Sony have made the best looking smartphone of 2018. Now, everybody might not agree with me on that, it's just my personal opinion, but you can't deny that this is a beautiful phone. On the right side of the handset, it has all the buttons, including the physical camera button, which makes using the camera a much more enjoyable experience. The SIM card tray is on the top, which leaves this left side totally smooth and free of buttons. The clean lines and aesthetic continues on the bottom of the device, where there's just a small hole for the microphone and a USB Type-C connector. As a nice design touch and a clear dig at the makers of notched phones, Sony have chosen to go with a notch for the XZ3. But instead of putting it on the screen, they put it on its arse. Sony is clearly proud of its notchless, curved 6-inch OLED HDR tri-luminous display, and they have every right to be, as it's gorgeous. The ambient flow curves from the back into the screen from all sides, and even though the bezels are not symmetrical and fairly chunky by today's standards, for me it's really not a problem at all, as the phone looks great from all angles. The curved OLED display has QHD Plus resolution at 1440 by 2880 and in an 18 by 9 aspect ratio. Across the back, there is refinement in the ambient flow design, although the fingerprint scanner remains in the same place as before and is still the same size and shape as the camera lens. It's annoying at first, but give it a week or so and it will be fine. I've not had any problems with the quality of the call or the signal strength, and voice always comes through clear. Wi-Fi signal is also excellent, with the XZ3 supporting download speeds of up to 1.2 gigabits per second. Physically, the XZ3 is quite a bit slimmer than the XZ2 and slightly narrower. It feels great in the hand, although it is very slippery and will easily slide off a surface that's not perfectly level, so a case is a must. The camera system on the XZ3 has been kind of upgraded from the XZ2. Well, the front camera has definitely seen an upgrade. We now have an 8 megapixel X-R sensor with HDR and portrait selfies and video recording with steady shot stabilization up to 1080p 30 frames per second. This is up from the 5 megapixel sensor that was on the XZ2, and the performance is very good, delivering pleasing and natural looking shots in good light, and not too bad shots in low light either. But the rear camera is the same as before, a 19 megapixel Motion Eye X-RS for mobile sensor with the same f2.0 Sony G lens. The only upgrades that Sony has brought to the rear camera this time with the XZ3 is to the software, which now seems to be much better at processing the photos, resulting in very clean, low noise images, even in low light. The ISO performance seems to be much improved, with the XZ2's max ISO setting now being 12,800. It's a big improvement over the XZ2, but where this camera really excels is in video. There's something about the video quality at 4K HDR that's almost cinematic. You don't get 60 frames per second like you do with some other flagships, but the quality is fantastic, and it's helped along by the addition of Sony's SteadyShot 5-axis stabilization system, which does work pretty well, although it's nowhere near as good as some of the optically stabilized systems that we've seen this year. Anyway, I have done a full camera review, which is on the channel now, so if you want to see more samples and hear more about the camera, then check down below for a link, or click the card up above right now. Battery performance from the 3300 mAh battery is good. It's not quite as good as some of the other flagship options, but it does have just about enough power to get you through the day. The stamina mode and ultra stamina mode obviously help out, and there is a battery care feature. This monitors your charging patterns, and it will work out the times when you charge your phone for long periods. And rather than quick charge your phone then, it will deliver the charge much slower and have it ready for when you usually take it off charge. This will obviously increase the life of your battery, but if you prefer, it can be switched off in the settings. Fast charging is also supported, as well as the convenience of Qi wireless charging. So what else do I like? Well, the general speed of this device is super impressive. It feels impossible to bog down this phone, no matter how much multitasking you're doing. That'll be thanks to the Snapdragon 845 processor from Qualcomm, and it's paired with 4GB of RAM, which some people might think is not enough, especially when you consider that there are some phones out there going for almost half the price that have twice as much memory. But I did say in my unboxing that 4GB is more than enough to power a smartphone, and I can honestly say that I've had no problems while using the XZ3. It remains fast and smooth at all times. Sure, it may be closing down apps in the background faster than other phones, but it's not something that you'll ever notice. They've gone for just 64GB of internal memory, but with the microSD expansion, you can get up to 512GB of storage, which sounds great, but you gotta remember that those 512GB cards are not cheap. Another reason why this phone flies is that Sony doesn't mess about with Android or fill it with bloatware, so it's just rapid. It also means it's easier and quicker for Sony to keep up to date with the operating system and security updates. This is a big deal and worth bearing in mind. For example, I don't think enough people realise that this was the first non-Google phone to run Android Pie out of the box. And I'm talking a stable, non-beta version of Pie, by the way. Sony has a great track record of keeping the phone up to date, safe and secure, so kudos to Sony for that. But obviously, as I said at the start of this video, no phone is perfect, and this phone does have its flaws. Some of the things that aren't great, well, I know some of you hate the fact that there isn't a 3.5mm headphone jack. There is an adapter in the box, so you can use your old school headphones if you want, so at least Sony have got you covered there. One thing I really was expecting to see this time, but didn't make it, was the face unlock, which is a shame. You do get the standard facial recognition app from Google, but it doesn't work nowhere near as well as proper face unlock does. But at least the fingerprint scanner is super fast once you get used to where it is. But just like the XZ2, once you put a case on it, it stops being an issue. The side sense feature, although it does work very well and is quite handy, and it is something that I use a lot, it does tend to activate by itself quite a lot. You can reduce the sensitivity of it in the settings, but I find it still happens now and again by itself. It's not that much of a problem for me, but I can imagine it annoying a lot of people. To use the side sense, double tap on the curved edge of the screen. It even works if you have a case fitted, and it's customizable with your favorite apps, or you can let the AI select the apps based on your usage. The camera lens can be annoying as well. Don't get me wrong, this is a good lens, nice and sharp, and you'll be more than happy with the pictures most of the time. The rest of the time, the flaring that you get from this lens will sometimes ruin your pictures. It flares very easily, and you lose a lot of contrast when it does. Plus, it's not the most attractive lens flare I've seen either. If you bear that in mind though, you get great shots from it, but it really is severe enough to cause a problem sometimes. So all in all, I've had a great time with the XZ3. I've had no problems with it. Seems like Sony have addressed all the things that were wrong with the XZ2, but coming just 6 months after the XZ2, you kind of feel like this phone should have been the XZ2, and now we should be on the evolution of that. If you have an XZ2 and are thinking of upgrading, I would say just wait 6 months for the next one, or at least wait for the XZ3 Premium. But if you don't have an XZ2, then this phone is definitely recommended. That's it from me. I've got lots more XZ3 content on the channel already. If you've not seen them, head over to the channel and check them out now. If you like this video, it'd be great if you left me a like. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Remember to hit it twice, you get all of our notifications, so you don't miss anything that we have coming up here on Btekt. October's going to be a busy month. There's quite a few releases. We've got the Google Pixel, the Mate 20 Pro, the OnePlus 6T and the LG V40 to look forward to. And Nokia have a surprise for us this week as well. Stay tuned to Btekt if you want to be the first to know about any of these phones. I'm David Wildman and this was Btekt.